Hello there, everybody. Welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you being here. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot. If you are just landing on my page, hope you like what you see. Stick around and hit that like and subscribe button. Also, hit your notifications bell so you'll know when I do postings. All right. We've seen old boy over there in Japan. They say dancing. My God, say twitching. Yeah, that whole, somebody called it, was it Jon Stewart or one of the late night show hosts said, call him the best in show, right? In a reference to the Westminster Dog Show, because that's kind of sort of what it looked like with with him being led around and saluting when there was no reason for him to salute. That was not part of the protocol and wasn't necessary. It was just unbelievable. But here's the thing: I'm gonna go to spirit today, you all. I'm getting a sense that we all know, like, duh, there's a lot more to this MRI than we're being told, right? And why it was necessary and what they really found. But what I'm getting, you all, is that that's not the only one. He's got to undergo another one, or there's some sort of surgery that they're recommending. I don't know what, but we're going to go to spirit on that. There's more on that to come. They are also going to try and cover that up, just as they let it out, of course, that he had the MRI, but not the details about why that was even necessary. But there's something else coming with him, like a major health event that is being amplified in addition to this sort of steady cognitive decline that clearly we're seeing. But there's something else, some other kind of MRI, something. I keep getting like something spreading, perhaps through his brain or in his body. I'm not sure, but there's something else there. All right, that. And the second thing one spirits led me to read today is this back and forth about the third term issue. Now, we know Steve Bannon came out and said point blank, and he wasn't lying. He said it with conviction. He meant what he said. There's a plan. We have a plan. And a lot of what we've been hearing, and many of you, I know, are already onto this, is the idea that he would perhaps run as a vice presidential candidate and then take over. So, say if JD even agreed to that or pretended to agree to that, that's part of the plan. The other thing, of course, would be just to ignore the Constitution, right? Don't see a constitutional amendment happening. But again, that's what I want to look at. Before I do that, though, I do want to, of course, calling on all sacred beings of light and our collective prayers for what we know is happening with Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba. It's really, really, really bad, and there's going to be a need for a lot of help. And we know this administration, we can't expect them to step up and do anything. Props to special shout out to the National Weather Service out of Miami, one of the top-notch organizations in a state to handle and monitor hurricane-related things for obvious reasons. Florida, but we understand that they have been around the clock, 24 hours, trying to stay on top of Hurricane Melissa, offering as much, getting out as much information as they can to help people without pay during this government shutdown, doing it for not even a U.S. related situation, because the U.S. is not under any kind of threat from this hurricane, but standing up and doing the right thing, doing the humane thing without pay. Props to that. Props to the human spirit. Props to Americans who are holding on to their values for that. Second great story, share with you quickly, is I don't know if you heard, but there were, they said, several hundreds of high school students in Chicago, who many of them immigrants or first generation born here in the U.S., that staged an incredible walkout and protest march under police protection in Chicago, right? Under police protection, a police escort that they had. So they were not harmed. ICE was not able to penetrate that or do anything about that. So they said, we have to stand up. This whole being, feeling like we can't be seen. We have to stay hidden. We're under constant threat. And these brave teenagers took to the streets and with megaphones and signs and all of it. And they said that the streets, people in the shops along the streets were applauding and blowing whistles, and cars were blowing horns to show their support. So we need more of that. And under police escort was especially important as well, to protect those kids while they were out there exercising their First Amendment rights. So also a good thing. Okay. DHS. Woo! Mess there. In fact, I'm going to do a quick look at that. Spirit is saying, go ahead and take a look at that. We hear that. So we got two divisions or factions that are happening now in DHS. We got the Kristi Noem with her supposed lover, Corey Lewandowski, pushing the whole, and Greg Bovino, who we understand now, what's her name, Judge Sarah Ellis, has said, oh, guess what, dude? I need you to come talk to me every day. I want a report from you every day. By 6 p.m., you are going to appear in front of me, because as many of you saw, he was caught on camera with all of the escalated situations going on in Chicago. Bovino himself was caught on camera tossing a tear gas can into what I think was a group of children who had gathered for a Halloween celebration or something to that effect. So Judge Sarah Ellis was like, wait a minute, hold up. No, you come talk to me today, tomorrow, and the day after that. And I'm expecting reports from you for any sort of where you had to escalate or what the justification was. I want to see and get from you on the record, because I can order you to be detained. So that's something. But Bovino, as we know, is in Kristi Noem, and he's following the instructions from Noem and Lewandowski, aka coming off from Stephen Miller, to escalate all of that. On the other hand, you have Tom Homan, who, no applause for him by any means, but who is saying, no, our instructions were to go after anybody who is criminal, a criminal element. And so there's a big to do there. Spirit. Will Homan be let go? Will Tom Homan be let go? Is he going to be let go from DHS? We have the High Priestess. They're trying to figure out how to do that. There were some promises also made to him because of that $50,000 deal. And we know they didn't go after him. They basically closed ranks around him to try and protect him and protect that situation from going further. I think ultimately he's going to have to do some answering for that. Page of Cups comes up. They're trying to find something to soothe Homan, to get him to pipe down and go along with the program as they escalate. 8 of Cups, exactly. They want him like, slow down, walk away, buddy. We are really in control of this, and we need you. We've stood up for you, right? We know you got caught red-handed with that 50K, and we're trying to do our best to keep you from facing the consequences of that. So you got to fall in line with us. And the 8 of Swords, he's very afraid of their retribution if he continues to say, no, the way you're handling things with all of this escalation and the tear gassing and all of this is wrong. He recognizes he's putting himself into a bad spot. So I don't know that they'll let him go. I don't see Noem or Canks saying let him go. Exactly. Still a commitment to him for the time being, the 4 of Wands. They're still like, listen, you're one of us. We know you're one of us, but don't push it, because this is what we're going to do. So Noem is safe for now. And of course, through her affiliation with Lewandowski, and they're all taking their orders from Stephen Miller. We know that, to escalate the numbers, to increase the numbers in the deportations. Will Noem ultimately face consequences for this? Because she's the one. All of these roads lead back to her. Here comes the Tower. She's the one in trouble, not Homan. At least not for the time being. But Noem is in trouble. Spirit is Stephen Miller frustrated with Kristi Noem? Is he going to turn on her? I have the Queen of Coins. That's her. That's Kristi Noem, or how she's presenting in this reading. Is Stephen Miller going to turn on her Ace of Swords? He's already having conversations like she's not up, and that's why he's been increasingly telling Corey, get your girl in line. You know, I'm getting spirit. Is Stephen Miller and Corey Lewandowski, are they in cahoots, like tied together at the hip around directing Kristi Noem, keeping her in line? The Knight of Cups, definitely a synergy between them, between Corey and Stephen Miller. And the two, another indication of that, the Two of Coins apart. So yes, the two of them have partnered to say, listen, we got it, just let her keep getting her outfits together and showing up and playing the role, but we dudes are going to be in the background directing this. So as it goes, Spirit is saying, we've already seen Stephen Miller's in big trouble down the line. They're gonna, when the tides turn, it's gonna be super interesting to watch. He's gonna be brought under he's gonna be facing some charges. Spirit has said that clearly, but then it goes down the line, because of course he'll start singing, well, it wasn't me, you didn't see me out in the streets doing these things. So he's going to start naming names, and there's the magician to confirm that. He's going to start naming names. And so people like Corey, people like anybody else who were basically, trying to please him, Miller, they're all going to go down tumbling. But it's down the road. I'm getting like 2027, 2028. It's down the road, you all. I know we don't want to hear that right now, but I got to tell you how I'm getting it. All right. Now I want to look at Canks. Let me cleanse. Shuffle the deck real good. So first I want to look at this MRI. You all, something else is going on where there's got to be, whatever they found was serious enough that they've got to do it again. And I don't know if they're going to try and hide that from the public or somehow make sure that doesn't go public, because there were a lot of questions, and Caroline Levitt got up there and made absolutely no sense about the fact that he was having a normal checkup when it had only been 6 months. He'd had one in, I think, April, and then again recently. That's not normal. Spirit is, this deck is kind of stiff. Let me do it this way. Is Canks, and you know who I'm talking about with Canks. Is Canks undergoing additional MRIs or some other testing because something is spreading in his body? Is he undergoing further testing because something is spreading in his body? Perhaps his brain? The Magician. And that goes to what I was getting intuitively around trying to hide it. Yes, there's more that they found, and there are additional tests that they're doing. And I also feel like this is some sort of experimental treatment. I don't know if that's actually medication. This MRI, the 6 of the coins or 6 of pentacles, they're experimenting on him, or he is undergoing some sort of experimental treatment. Is this around his brain? Did they see something in his brain? The 4 of Wands, so more than just his brain. And spreading, fire, spreads. Is this swelling? Swelling in his brain? The Lovers. Wow. It's something, it's something in a health reading. The Lovers, Gemini, out of balance, something they're trying to bring back into balance, something they're trying to mitigate, put back together. Will he have to undergo some sort of surgery and they'll try to keep it secret? Did this MRI expose something that he needs to have? surgery for, or they want to give him surgery. No, Five of Coins. Whatever this is progressive enough that they can't, it's not operable. Am I getting that right, Spirit? It's not operable. Page of Cups. They're looking at ways. Page of Cups feels like some new, again, this goes back to the medicines or whatever they're trying to give him. And the Two of Pentacles. So there's this goes back to the experimental piece that Spirit was giving me, that there's something they're trying to give him, but it's new, it's very experimental, and the odds of it working, I don't think they're very, with that Five of Pentacles, I don't think they're confident in the odds of it working. Spirit, are we going to, within the next 6 months, will we see a drastic definitive point in his health, in Canks' health, where there's no covering for it, there's no coming back from it, there's no excuses? The Hangman. So some of this is depending on what they can try and do to keep him stitched up, patched up, functional. But the Hangman is also, and the world, okay, here we go. Some people have seen him having strokes, right? Or something where he's still alive, but basically so incapacitated that he's just there. He's just not functional, that just not cognitively functional. And sure enough, we got the world. A completion, like a boiling point, a point where there's no denying it any further, you all. So whatever 6 months from now is, of course, we'll continue to keep a look on that and look at it, go back to Spirit as time moves on. But there's something within a 6 month time frame: November, December, January, February, March, April. There's something within that time frame where the progression of what this is happening in his body will be such that we could very well see him incapacitated, not necessarily gone, but not functional. Spirit, will we see JD Vance sworn in as president in 2026? Will we see JD Vance? I didn't even know I was going here today, but there's, I'm telling you, there's something with this MRI that was like all alert. Seven of Swords. He's afraid of it. He's not ready. He thinks he's ready. He talks a good game. Vance, he talks a good game. He is not ready, and he knows he's not ready. And that's why you're seeing him, we're hearing more and more about his reliance on Marco Rubio. The Nine of Cups. He wants it, but he's afraid of it. That his ambition and people pumping it in his ear, it's just a matter of time before you got to get ready to step up, dude. Like, you see what's happening. We all see what's happening. Canks is on borrowed time. You've got to get ready to do this. He is afraid, but he wants it. And the Ace of Cups, Spirit is confirming that. He just ruthless ambition, wants it, but absolutely not capable of doing the job, and recognizing that he's not capable, but he's going to try and get enough cover around him. So will we see him sworn in temporarily, even in 2026? The King of Cups, I think so, you all. I want to get a confirmation of that. Is that King of Cups? Am I looking at a version of him? The Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles. I feel like that's a time frame. And the Two of Swords. And the Hierophant. Okay. There's going to be a delay. They will try, because the specter is the word Spirit is giving me. The specter of Canks is so powerful, and the diminished leadership of JD, like nobody sees him as presidential in any, as MAGA as you want to get, as MAGA can get. JD still doesn't fit that profile. So there's something here where they're going to try and delay, even if or when Canks gets to the point of being in that hangman energy. where he's out of it, they're going to try and delay as long as they possibly can, actually moving Vance into that post, at least in 2026. That's what I'm asking about. And I'm getting a confirmation, Ace of Wands. So it could happen, but there will be every effort to delay that. As much as he may, in his ambitions, may be trying to push him in that direction. But he doesn't have anybody else. That's the key. Spirit is saying he doesn't have enough people behind him, Vance, to try and push it in that direction. They still want to keep, for whatever reason, they still want to keep at least the image of Canks being head guy in charge. All right. I'm also, I just heard, partially because Russia, the Middle East, like on a global scale, Vance is nowhere near ready to handle things globally on behalf of the United States. No, regardless of what policies, whether it's Kank's agenda or any other agenda, he's not ready for it, and they know that. So he won't have the adequate support to push him in that direction. They're going to try and delay it as much as possible. All right. Now, last thing I wanted to look at today, you all, is this situation with this third term. We heard, we're hearing more and more and more, and we're learning now that when you hear these things, it's not just talk. Like, don't dismiss it. It is, they mean what they say, right? So first we started hearing, Bannon came out with the "we have a plan." Many of us, on the platform, as well as just in political circles, have said, well, then the only way, the plan must be to try and do a little hook through, work around, with the vice presidency and then ascend back. But not so sure about that. But I'm going to look at that. But they are really serious about this third term. They are 100% serious about pushing for a third term, regardless of whether or not he's still around that long. This is their plan. Spirit, is this third term? And then you had, backing up. And then you heard him yesterday, Canks, I think it was yesterday, saying, well, I understand now that is not in alignment with the Constitution. So as much as I'd like to do it, I guess it's just not possible. Like, none of that is believable anymore. None of that is believable. We think that was done. Spirit is saying, that was done to tamp down, because that was increasingly being, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What do you have on tap here? Spirit, is there a plan? Just as they had a Project 2025, is there a plan to execute on this third term idea? Is there a plan to execute on this third term? There is, very much so. The Hermit. There is definitely a plan. Does it involve ignoring the Constitution? Are they just going to come right out and say, we're doing it anyway, we don't care what the Constitution says? Ace of Pentacles. Ace of doggone Pentacles. So then we have a constitutional crisis for real. Not that we don't have one now. Because also, remember, Spirit is reminding me, remember the comments that were made, kind of flippantly, but he meant it when he said, well, once we got the big bill passed, don't even need Congress. Who needs Congress? And I think my last reading, or the reading before that, Spirit said that's part of why he wants the continuation of the shutdown, because Congress is basically ineffective while all this is happening. Not that they were effective to begin with, but so yeah, keep them out of the loop. Don't even need Congress. Don't need Congress. Constitutional amendment, don't need Congress. Page of Wands. They see it as the total remake and totalitarianism of the United States government. Spirit, what will be done to stop that? Will the Supreme Court at that point wake up and puts up 3 of coins? That's a good sign. My question before I drew that card was specific to the Supreme Court, but this is the court, perhaps SCOTUS in concert, with Congress? Is that when we'll see Congress wake up and fight back? The Knight of Cups, certainly somebody emerges in Congress, a younger voice perhaps emerges to really take up that fight. And the Sun. All right. I love it. Thank you, Spirit. And there will be, that won't happen. Bottom line, that won't happen. Yes, they're having there is a definite plan in place. It does look like it's not about so much him doing a back end run, being trying to go for vice president and then assuming power. It's more about flagrantly disregarding the Constitution and saying for whatever reason the Constitution doesn't hold. Four of Cups. Their disappointment because it's not going to work. Spirit, will we have will that get cast aside? Will this attempt, please confirm again? I know you gave me the Sun, I appreciate that, but Four of Swords, calm down. I think that's what Spirit is saying. This is a card of rest and reassess. So I think Spirit is saying don't sound the alarm on that. Knowing that there's a plan in place, but also knowing Five of Cups, it will not go as planned. That plan will not go as planned, Steve Bannon, at all. That plan will not go as planned. And the Seven of Pentacles, and there's already, because it has been talked about and made public, and because nobody believes him at this point when he says, "Oh well, from what I hear, it's not okay in the Constitution, so I guess not." Nobody's believing that. There's already something. Seven of Pentacles, an assessment. There's already something going on to try and double run Canks, to say, we know. So now let's figure out the different ways that you might be planning to do this so that we can, have plans in place to counteract it. Page of Coins, plans in place to counteract it. 100%. Even sitting there with that book, like studying, they got attorneys on this already to try and figure out, if he does this, we do that. If this happens, this needs to be the response. So you all, bottom line, and the Two of Wands, moving forward, focusing forward. There is a plan in place, and I don't know, how much reassurance we can actually take from that right now, but it is what it is. I hope that offers some reassurance that whatever way, if this is an outright defiance of the Constitution, then that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. And you will have, I think, SCOTUS as well as Congress just absolutely lose it. Just absolutely go ballistic and do whatever they've got to do to put a stop to it. It does not behoove them. As much as they are being forced to go along with this situation in this administration, it doesn't behoove them to then want this to continue. That's the thing. All right, you all. I'll check with you on Friday. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days. For Sunday, though, for sure, I'm going to do coverage on Tuesday's elections because we got such big races and such, it will send such a signal for all of us as to, how things are really settling in, especially as we head into 2026. So we got those governor races in New Jersey and Virginia. We got Prop 50 in California, and we've got, of course, the mayoral race in New York. So we're going to take a last look, go to Spirit, and see what the odds are looking like in those races. Meanwhile, have a good Wednesday. Chin up. Like, don't even do chin up, normal chin up, but maybe tilt that piece up like a little bit even higher if you have to, right? And keep your shoulders back. And stay grounded in who you are and what you stand for. By all means, there are lots of avenues that are opening now for us to give to food banks, churches, state organizations, etc. So I encourage all of us to, if you're feeling moved, to remember one another right now and be who we need to be in this time, right? All right. Take really good care of yourselves. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.